This Magic deck is also from Shadows of Innistrad and Eldritch Moon. I call it Wolf Fist. It is red-green. It is basically werewolf and wolf tribal. Most of the creatures are that. There are things that buff werewolves and wolves, and it's all about picking a fight. It is all about picking a fight. It is an aggressive deck. It is full of werewolves, but some of those werewolves are a little bit easier to use, which I'll get to. The basis of this was the preform deck from, it may have been Eldritch Moon, but it was red and green, and Cameron actually, in the booster pack in the box, got this bad boy, who is a legendary werewolf. It does transform, and when it does so, it can be a pretty big issue. Now, I found that transforming werewolves could be difficult, so I found some ways around that. First of all, do have some powerful wolves, like the assembled alphas, which came with the deck, and a wolf here, a Silverful Partisan, which is kind of the odd person out in this deck. If I had to redo it a little bit, I might take him out because it doesn't really, the deck doesn't really go with what he's doing. But two of the big werewolves I have in here that you can't untransform are these guys. Now, one of them, more traditional, can kind of beef him up with land usage. The other one does damage to when he enters the battlefield and then when he transforms. But they're Eldritch Moon werewolves, which means they transform into something terrifying and don't untransform. So that is good. A lot of the other werewolves in here transform if you or your opponent use spells, which in Magic happens a lot. Other things in this deck that are key pieces are the Stag, which picks a fight when it enters the battlefield. Like I said, this one is all about picking fights. So it does have several cards which help do that. One of them is Moonlight Hunt. Maybe this isn't a fight, maybe this is direct damage to a creature. Just immediately, direct damage is not the correct term, but basically allows all your wolves and werewolves to just beat the crap out of an opposing creature. There's also some Waxing Moon in this deck, which will force a transformation, which can be useful. Now, in order to speed up the fight and speed up the aggression, there's a couple things in here that make it easier to battle your opponent. One of those is Magmatic Chasm. If you play this when you attack, your opponent's creatures that don't fly suddenly can't block, which, if you're assaulting with several creatures, can be a pretty big hit. I also have Blood Mist in here. Blood Mist, I don't think it's supposed to be for a werewolf. It looks like it's supposed to be for a vampire, but yeah, you can give a creature double strike, which can be very mean, especially if you have something that's big and beefy. There's another enchantment in there which powers up werewolves and wolves, but that is the basic idea. You got a bunch of werewolves, you got some that don't care about transformation. You're trying to fight as much as possible and reach in there and beat the crap out of your opponent before they can do much else. This is a fun deck to play against decks that create a bunch of small kind of important creatures, because you keep picking fights and picking them off one by one until eventually you win. So that's fun. I'm not sure how well it does against things that eventually produce a big creature. Like it's definitely an early game deck. It's fun though.